There are two types of leaking, and the majority of men fall into the camp of the cup being empty, as opposed to the antithesis of this, the cup being full, and perhaps even spilling over the top. This is from the Shepherd's Psalm 23:5. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou anointest my head with oil, my cup runneth over. I like the spiritual significance of this, attributed to King David. The cup symbolizes the speaker's life or capacity for receiving blessings. The overflow indicates that God's goodness, love, and provision exceed what is necessary, even in the presence of enemies or adversity. But many men's cup does not run over this brim, does not receive divine provisions, for he, and I quote, does not preparest a table before me. He makes no room for God in his life, for he only sets the table for himself. He dines in solitude to only gratify his own needs. When you cut off the Godhead, which is a phrase I use to describe man and society's replacement of God and spirituality as the North Star, it is replaced by the individual. At least in Western culture, naturally things become more self-serving, and naturally they become more indulgent and deviant and eventually perverted. I need give you no evidence of this because the evidence is all around you. God is dead and we have killed him. Self-worship are the small stones that cause an avalanche and a void of degenerate behavior. You have set the table for yourself and feasted for so long that we have become a fat and greedy slug, which will gorge until you choke on the indulgences and exit this mutilated body. These leaks come in many forms, but are so eloquently following these 7 deadly sins: greed, pride, but lust, in my estimation, manifesting as the biggest hole or leak in your cup, only that you can give up for God and free your body from torment. It begins with the mind, but even more so with the breath. You should be familiar with Lao Tzu's magnificent thoughts influencing destiny. Watch your thoughts, they become your words. Watch your words, they become your actions. Watch your actions, they become your habits. Watch your habits, they become your character. Watch character, it becomes destiny. I ruminated on this for so long, but I never seemed to understand how one begins to control their thoughts. And I thought the answer was meditation for a long time. Now, of course, meditation allows you to, yes, watch your thoughts, but the sentiment behind these words is that it's a choice. It can be made in the observation of those thoughts. Then I had a divine download, an epiphany. I couldn't choose those thoughts, but I could choose how I breathed. And you have direct access to a mechanism or control panel right in this moment that can alter the very chemistry of your body through the thinking process. And the whimsy of this realization is that it's right under your nose. When a fantasy, a sexual urge, lust arises in you, yes, you can observe it, draw away its power, but the manipulation of the breath allows you to dissipate it like a cloud in the blue summer sky. When I started actively using Wim Hof, but more comprehensively, I would say pranayama, it's like I unlocked a cheat code. Like the universe itself came down and dropped the instruction manuals on how to use my brain into my very lap. I was saved from the incessant perversion I had unwillingly programmed and tethered myself to all these years. I was liberated. I cleared the table of my greed and lust and prepped the table for God, Christ, Allah, Shiva, and my cup started to fill over, spilling over the brim in forms of blessings. And it was no mere coincidence that this coincided with knowledge of the breath and prepping a place for God at my table, giving me more time than I actually really wanted, more money than I really actually needed to live modestly, more energy than my body knew what to do with, more attention than I felt like I actually deserved. What holds you back is your own undoing. Reality can only render so much pleasure and dopamine in the human stream of consciousness. If you're undeservingly giving it to yourself through adult material, masturbation, promiscuity, drugs, then you emptied your cup before the universe can fill it. And it fills your cup in ways that satisfy and satiate you more completely and longer lasting than any form of cheap dopamine could ever give you. It's perhaps the difference between giving yourself a piece of chocolate or waiting for the universe to give you a steak. It's pleasure versus joy. It's serotonin versus dopamine. It's a fact. It's not a theory. Speak soon.